Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, boys and girls, children of all ages, and happy February. Has it been that long already? Is it already February? How did that happen? I know time marches on. I know time must go on. Time. All I see is time. I don't know. It's kind of weird to think that we're already into February. It doesn't seem that long ago that we were just starting January. It's funny how that works, isn't it? Couple things I'd like to cover this week. One is we have a Ring camera on our house. Now, I'm not endorsing Ring. I'm not denouncing Ring. It's a useful tool. If used properly, I think it's a great thing. You can see who's at your door. You can decide, yes, I want to open the door. No, I don't. I don't like the way you look. I'm not opening the door. Or you just don't feel like it. And you can tell them to go away through your Ring app, or you just ignore them like you would do as if you didn't own a Ring and you had no idea who was out there. And why do people feel that we're obligated to open the door for them if they ring the doorbell? Hey, I don't want to be bothered. I don't know you. And even if I do know you, some days I just don't want to bother with people outside of my house. I know it's old man syndrome. It's get off my lawn syndrome. Or in this case, get off my porch syndrome. But where did that notion come from that if they ring the doorbell, you must answer? I had somebody that rang the doorbell, then knocked on the door, then rang the doorbell, then knocked on the door, and finally they went away. And I thought that was weird, and how much audacity they would have that they're like, hey, I want to talk to you. You're going to come out here and talk to me kind of thing. And I just don't get it. I'm not like that. When I was going out and selling insurance, if people didn't answer the doorbell or my knock, I walked away. Figured they're not home or they don't like the look of my face. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to talk to anybody that day, which is perfectly fine and normal. You can talk to whoever you want or not talk to whoever you don't want. I think that's English. Sounds like English anyway. But my roommate has an app on their phone that sends an alert every time there's a ring notice that goes out. Whether it's like someone on someone's porch or they caught a coyote going by or whatever. And last night there was 28 or 29 notices. No, I'm sorry. 78 notices. Apparently there's some B&Es and there's some people trying to gain access to where they shouldn't. And I don't know. I don't have all the details. I'm not a cop. And I don't have a scanner, so I really don't know. I can go by as what I read. Excuse me while I sip some coffee. And while that's a great thing, and I think it's wonderful that we can be alerted at a nanoseconds notice of something going on, whether it's in our neighborhood or not, or within a geographical area or not, I think that can be a good thing. However, it's also very intrusive that you can't walk past the house now and not know if there's a camera watching what you're doing. And it's fine. If you're not doing anything wrong, then you shouldn't worry about it. But it's also, I think it's very intrusive that anybody can watch you at any second of any day now, whether you're doing anything nefarious or not, or just out walking your dog or taking a walk in the neighborhood. And I really don't know how I feel about that. I think on the one hand, yes, keep your house safe, keep your family safe, that's great, but not at the expense of privacy. And it seems the older I get and the more time marches on, the more people are willing to give up freedom in the name of security, or what they think is being secure. And slowly but surely, any freedoms that you have are being chipped away and being replaced with, well, sure, you're not as free as you were, but now you're more secure, or now you know more what's going on in the world, or we have a better handle on what's going on around us. And if it's just your house, fine, whatever, I don't care. But I'm part of the generation, Gen X, if you will, where growing up in, like, I was 4 or 5. No, I'm sorry, I was 3 when the 70s started. So at whatever age that was, I was actually going outside and playing by myself, probably like 5 or 6. And you would be gone all day, and there would be no phones to track you. There'd be no cameras to watch you. There'd be no GPS. There'd be none of these things. And we were gone all day, and no one had any idea where we were. And sure, that could be a little bit dangerous if something happened to you. If you were a dumb kid and you jumped off a building and you broke your leg, you might lay there for a while until someone comes and gets you. And I get that. That's fine. But that's an isolated incident. It didn't happen very often. At least I don't think it happened very often. Excuse my clock. I thought I had switched it off and I had not. So you'd be gone all day and no one would know where you were. And what a sense of freedom that was, where you could just go out and do things and not worry about who was watching you. Sure, you had the neighborhood grandmothers and mothers that hung out on their porch, you know, on their stoop all day and watched the kids, and that was fine. That was all right, because that was just someone's mother or someone's grandmother watching you to make sure you didn't do anything stupid like play in traffic or jump off a building or run across the freeway, whatever. But it was such a sense of freedom, and slowly but surely over the years, as more things are added and more things are done, we're losing that sense of freedom. You can't walk down a street, city street, or a suburban street anymore without there being a camera somewhere. I have no idea how many cameras there are in LA. I would guess it's in the upper millions of cameras, just on businesses and on homes and wherever, in stores that are watching you all the time. I mean, even if you go to certain Amazon Fresh stores, they don't use, well, there's still some checkouts, but for the most part, there's no checkouts. You walk in, you scan your phone, or you put in your Google account information, the little gate opens, and you go shop, and you put things in your cart, or in this case, the store I went to, there was bags that they gave you, so you put the bag in the cart, you grab something off the shelf, put it in your bag, and you're automatically tracked it because there's a camera at every possible angle in every aisle watching what you're doing. And I get it. It's automation. It's hands-free. It's whatever it is, but it's still slowly but surely chipping away at any freedoms that you think you have or any privacy that you think you have, because privacy in 2023 so far very rarely exists. It doesn't even really exist in your house anymore. Between the Google smart homes and Amazon Echoes and Dots, and I'm sure Android has their own version of it. I can't think what it is. Maybe it's the Google one. But there's some device in your house that's always listening. And for the people to say, well, I won't do that because the Amazon device is always listening, these are the same people that walk around with a phone in their hand all day long and thinking they're safe and secure, and they're not, because even if the phone is not actively listening to what you're doing, it could be, because as soon as I say those magic words, okay, GOOGLE, because I don't want my phone to wake up, so you know that the phone is always in standby, or the device is always in standby, whatever it is. So to the people like my ex who used to say, well, I will never have that device in my house because I don't want it listening to me. You have a listening device in your hand, in your pocket, in your purse all day long anyway. So there's no privacy there either. Unless you turn your phone off all the time in between uses, which honestly, who's going to do that? I don't have that kind of time to wait for my phone to wake up. So even though I rail against it, I'm still accepting of the fact that this is just the way that life is, and that's how it's going to be, and there's nothing I can do about it unless I totally unplug and move to the woods somewhere. And even in the middle of the woods somewhere, for all I know, there could be somebody's deer camera or trail camera watching me out there. So, like I said, I think unless there's major changes that go on, privacy as we knew it and freedom as we knew it will never ever come back to the way it was even 10 years ago. And I'm sure 10 years ago wasn't that great, because I'm sure that was the advent of the camera everywhere, watching your every move in the name of safety and security. Because we know, and I'm going to say hello to the person listening to my phone, we know big government has a hand in that, and they're always watching, and there's all these databases and all these camera banks everywhere that are always watching us in the name of safety. They say it's to prevent future terrorist attacks, and that's fine. Whatever excuse they're serving up, we're lapping it up, and we're eating it by the forkful or whatever, and we just accept it. I did a brief cursory search, and between Vivint cameras and Ring cameras, there are approximately 3.6 million cameras that have been sold between these two companies, sold or installed or however you want to phrase it. It's a lot of cameras. It's a lot of cameras on a lot of houses and a lot of people watching what you're doing. I go pick up stuff from the free Facebook site that I've talked about before, and probably 90% of the houses or more have a Ring camera now. So they're watching you, they're watching what you're doing, which is fine because I have a reason to be there. They know I'm coming. They know I'm coming to pick up the thing, and it's expected, so I don't have to worry about it. And they don't have to worry about their house because they're safe. In the name of freedom, or I'm sorry, in the name of security, they're safe. But how, I don't understand the trade-off. How does that work? What is the correlation now between safe, secure, and free? I think in order to gain one, you have to give up something on the other side. I don't know. What's your opinion on that? I would love to know it. I may put a survey up in Spotify if you listen to me there, and if not, at Home with Craig on every podcast service you can ever think of. Some, as you know, allow interaction between host and audience. So I may put up a survey on Spotify to ask, which is more important to you, freedom or security? And why can't we have a more equal measure of both? Why can't we still have freedom and be secure without giving most of it up? This is not going to be a long podcast, or as long as normal. As I said, there's only one or two things that I want to talk about. On the next podcast, I want to talk about being offended and having an offensible heart and ways that you can counteract that. I've been doing all the reading on that. Why we have the right, or why we feel we're right to be offended by every little thing that we don't agree with. I don't agree with that statement. I don't think you have the right to be offended. Well, let me back that up. I guess you do have a right to be offended, but how you act and react to that is where the problem lies for me. Sure, you can feel offended, but does your level of offense dictate my level of acquiescence and what I'm supposed to do to not offend you? People will tell you about their lives. They'll tell you they have anxiety, they're offended, they're hurt, whatever. And the upshot is you're supposed to adapt around them. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly and 1,000,000%. Should you try to help them? Should you try to, adapt a little bit to what they're feeling? Sure. Absolutely. It's just being a good neighbor. It's being a nice person. It's being helpful. But your right to be offended does not counteract my right to offend you. If I tell a joke on Facebook and you don't like it and you're offended, click the X. Unfollow me. Don't come after me and attack me saying, I'm so offended. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you're in my face bugging me about this. If you're offended, I'm sorry. But it's not going to change me. I don't go out of my way to offend people anymore. I really don't. I used to. I could be rather mean and acerbic and sarcastic and sardonic and all those things that make me seem like not a good person. And I recognize that in myself, and that's fine. And now I'm trying to change, not because of you, but because I want to be a better person, and I want to feel better about myself, and I don't want people to hate me. So, however that works out for you, do the math and let me know. But I will always maintain the right to be as offensive as you want to be. Because in the end, sure, you may hurt some feelings, but you're not harming anyone, per se. They may be offended, they may be hurt, they may be upset, and I get that, and I'm sorry about that, and I'm sorry that you feel that way. But that doesn't give you the right to dictate to others how they should act around you. If you don't like it, remove yourself from the situation. God knows I've done it. People that have bugged me and offended me and what they say and what they do and how they attack my beliefs and my lifestyle and whatever, I've slowly but surely removed them every time, step by step. And I never look back. I don't announce my departure. This is not an airport. You don't have to announce that you're leaving. You don't have to announce that you're arriving. Just show up and be there, or just step back and walk away. Do the Irish goodbye and just leave quietly. Because obviously, if the person that offended you cared, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. So I think it's more on you as the offended party to look inside and see why you're offended, to maybe work on that a little bit, and hopefully the person that offended you will work on their stuff a little bit, and we can have a calmer, gentler, kinder world, which I think is something that everybody's looking for, and it's fine. I don't think it exists. I don't think that's going to exist until we get to heaven, and then it won't matter anyway because we will have forgotten what happened here, and we'll just live in that harmony and that symbiosis, and everything will be great. Until then, sorry, not so much. So like I said, I said more about them than I thought I was going to, but it just once it starts flowing, it keeps going, kind of thing. But I will do some research, and I will talk more on that from a more authoritative point of view, a more informed point of view, rather than just off the cuff like I did. The last thing I want to wrap this up with is sad news to some, happy news to others. I'm somewhere in the middle. If you've been following my show for any length of time at all lately, you'll know that I was going through some stuff, and according to my ex, my divorce is final, and in her words, I'm finally free. Now that sounds odd to some people. That is usually the ultimate goal of a divorce, is someone gains their freedom and someone suffers. And sure, I'm free now to do other things, and that's fine, that's great, wonderful. But what my ex doesn't get is that was never my goal, that was never my intention, that was never something I was shooting for, where I said, all right, I'm going to do 26 and I'm out no matter what. I had no intentions of ever getting out. I had no intentions of letting it run for as long as it did, for as badly as it did on both parts, because in many cases I'm just as guilty as they are, and in some cases one of us is more guilty than the other. But I never had that intention going in, because if I had, I would have avoided 26 years of heartache and pain and other stuff. And I'm not saying it was all bad. Obviously there was good stuff. I'll never ever regret having my kids, even though we don't speak anymore. They're still out there in the world, they're still doing their thing, and I'm still very proud of both of them. And I'm happy that they exist. And that's all, be as it may. But it was never my intention to get out. I never looked for that. Well, not never, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying. That wasn't the end goal at any point, to do that, to say, all right, I'm done, I'm gone. Because I had visions of retiring to Texas with her and living chapter 3 or 4 or whatever it would be, and until the end of our days, or until one of us got called home. And that didn't happen, and now that can never happen. And this is my third one, so after 3 times, maybe it's me, maybe it's them, I don't know. That's neither here nor there. So that's my week in review, as it were, kind of, sort of, in a way, however you want to phrase it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. As always, I hope you got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you notice your surroundings and have situational awareness. And I'm sure you're going to see Ring cameras everywhere now, or the vivid signs in the yard saying this house protected by whoever, or ADT. And I don't know how much of the ADT stuff does cameras. I don't know. I know about Vivint because I sell it. If you'd like to know more about that, absolutely hit me up, and I would be glad to talk to you about it. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. As always, I love you all. I think I said as always once or twice now. I love you all. These are just my opinions, my 2 cents. Your mileage may vary. And God bless, and have a great week. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.